Hey guys, Naterz here, and with the reveal of Jason, which I predicted last Thursday, I've started to wonder, what horror characters could we get in the future of MultiVersus? Warner has a lot of characters to choose from, and I decided to make a video on a few that I'd like to see. When I say a few, I mean about 12. A few of these characters I have mentioned before in some previous videos, some of them being in my bosses video that I put out last week. However, this is a video for playable horror characters, not bosses. So it still should mostly be new info. That being said, this video is going to go over some horror characters associated with Warner and some moveset possibilities for them. Let's first go over someone who is iconic. One of the bigger horror movie characters, Freddy Krueger. I think that he will, of course, use his claw things in his moveset. The claws are super recognizable and would for sure be used in his moveset somehow. He also is able to stretch his arms and has some elastic powers, sort of similar to Jake. I'd imagine this could be explored somehow in his moveset. He also has been seen able to teleport and set fire to things using his mind. All of these are some ideas on moves that I think that he could have. I can imagine teleportation being an interesting recovery move, and I think that he could have a stretchy move where he stretches his arm out and slashes with his claw. I think Freddy has a lot of potential, and I'd love to see him included. I can't really speak more for him because I've never seen the Nightmare on Elm Street, but I do really think that he should get in, and due to Jason Voorhees getting in, I might actually go back and watch the Nightmare on Elm Street. I might actually enjoy it quite a bit. The next character that I'd like to go over is one that I have mentioned in previous videos. That character being Pennywise. I think Pennywise could be such an awesome playable character. Plus, he has a lot of costume potential. As for a moveset, I think that his shape-shifting would be a majority of it. He's been seen shape-shifting so much that I think the devs could even take some creative liberties and have it still feel character accurate. His deadlights are also something that makes him very unique. Maybe they could be his neutral special or something. If he uses his deadlights near an opponent, maybe they will become uncontrollable for a couple seconds. And if they mash, they gain control of their character sooner. Maybe he could use his balloons as a recovery move. It might make him feel a bit more cartoony, but the red balloons are something that is super recognizable. It's funny how a movie can make just a regular object become iconic, and for it is definitely the balloon. I'd love to see Pennywise, and I do hope that he will get added at some point into MultiVersus roster. Another horror movie character that I think could be really interesting would have to be Cujo. He is just a regular dog, but the devs have been seen to be able to create an interesting moveset with not a lot to work with. They did this with the Banana Guard, although he did have a spear, which gave them a bit of an easier time to get creative. I think Cujo would definitely have some biting moves and slashing moves with his claws. Because Cujo is a dog, it definitely restricts his chances a bit. They can only do so much with a dog character, but nonetheless, I think that he would be a very neat inclusion. One of the most wanted horror movie characters in the MultiVersus community, and not one that people might expect, is definitely Audrey 2. I think most of the credit goes to Audrey 2 for MultiVersus on Twitter. He raised a lot of awareness for the character and has gained a pretty decent following. I think that Audrey has a ton of potential for MultiVersus. I've talked about him being playable in a past video, so a lot of this will probably be familiar information. There will also be a little bit of spoilers, so feel free to skip ahead. Firstly, I think that he would definitely have a biting move. That is part of the whole premise of the Little Shop of Horrors. You have to feed him blood. I think that he could also have a gun move. And I think that it could be really cool in general seeing a monstrosity of a plant shoot a gun. He could also probably have some sort of grounded special where he sends roots below the stage that sprout up when the button is released. There was also a really cool gimmick that Audrey 2 came up with on Twitter. Basically, you start the match as a little Audrey 2 plant. Over the course of the match, blood droplets would be dropped from opponents when they take damage. Audrey can then consume these droplets. After consuming a droplet, he grows a bit in size. Once Audrey reaches his maximum size, he is the size of the Iron Giant. This would be a very unique playstyle and would definitely bring something new to the game. This, however, would be a lot of work for the devs, and I don't see it happening very soon. I think it would definitely pay off though, and I really do hope that it happens. The horror character that I think is probably the most likely to be next for MultiVersus is Beetlejuice. With the new movie coming out and some possible leaks, I think it's pretty safe to say that we will be seeing him at some point soon. I think that he could have a very unique moveset. His shape-shifting abilities and elasticity would make him very unique. He could stretch his arms out and turn his hands into hammers and slam them downward in front of him. He can also fly, which definitely helps with a recovery. I think there is so much creativity that can go into Beetlejuice, and I'd absolutely love to see him included. I wish I could say more on him, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember a ton about the movie. I just watched a couple clips to give me some base information on what could be some moves for the game, but I think that he has so much opportunities because of his shape-shifting powers that the devs could have a lot of fun making him work. One of my most wanted characters from this video, and just in general, has to be Fawn from Pan's Labyrinth. If you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend it. It is, however, in Spanish, so that may be a drawback for some people. I enjoyed the movie with subtitles, however. I think Fawn would be such a unique character and have a really cool moveset. I'd imagine him being a support character. For those who have seen the movie, remember that root thing that he gave to Ophelia? Well, I think that he could use that in MultiVersus. In the movie, it has healing powers, so I think it could work that way in MultiVersus. If you are playing duos, it will heal your teammate. If you are running solo, it will heal yourself. I have two ideas on how this could work. I think that he could have it be dedicated to his own down special. For it, he would take the root out and place it down on the stage. Your opponent then has to attack it a couple times to make it disappear. When the root is out, it will heal. And it will also have a cooldown on when it can be placed again, so the opponent can't just break it and then have it be placed again. There will be a cooldown, so then it's not insanely overpowered. Or maybe you constantly have the root out, but you have to somehow collect milk throughout the match and feed it to the root. This was one of the ways the root worked in the movie. You had to give it milk. As for other move possibilities, I think Fawn should be able to use his fairies in his moveset. I imagine him working sort of similar to an Olimar or Rosalina character from Smash. He also could use the dagger that he has been seen with, or even a bone as a heavy hitting weapon. It has shown up in a couple of places. I first discovered it in the NECA figure of Fawn. Then I rewatched all of the Fawn scenes, and I believe the bone is kept in his little bag that he carries. I saw it in this clip here. I also believe it is shown in the animated comic. Either way, I think Fawn could be a fantastic character. Plus, they could have an English voice actor for him, which we haven't seen yet. I think he has a ton of potential, and I'd love for him to get into the game. Another good guy that I'd like to see from a horror movie, and my personal most wanted horror movie rep, would have to be Edgar Frog from The Lost Boys. Don't get me wrong, the main baddie of that movie, David, would be really cool as well. But I think Edgar makes more sense, partly because he has appeared in 3 movies while David has only appeared in 1. Plus, he has also appeared in some comics. He has so many weapons that he could use. And the cool thing is, all of his weapons are unique. I think that he could use his wooden stake as his primary weapon. Due to this, I have considered making him an assassin. However, I could also see him being a mage because of the other weapons he has available to him. To name a few, he could use a stake gun, a sword, a cross throwing star thing, a garlic bola, a crossbow, a holy water squirt gun, and so much more. After listing all of these off, maybe he would be a little bit better as a mage. I plan to make a video on him in the future, so if that sounds interesting, you have that to look forward to. I think that Edgar is such a cool character and has a lot of potential. I'd absolutely love for him to get into MultiVersus. The next character is the one that I think would be debatable on if it's horror or not, that character being the Phantom of the Opera. I say debatable because I feel like the Warner movie has a lot of horror elements, but isn't super horror based. However, other Phantom of the Opera movies are. I feel like the Phantom of the Opera is an iconic horror character, and people would associate him with horror, so that's why I included him here. Warner has only made one Phantom of the Opera movie, the rest being made by other companies. I think that he could be a very interesting fighter for the game. I think his primary weapon would be his fencing sword. I know that Arya is in the game and that we do have a sword fighter because of her, but I think there is more that can be explored in a sword fighter. I think the Phantom could be a really neat character to do this with. Plus, he could have some really neat outfits. I'd love to play as the red suit Phantom. I think he has a lot of potential and would be a really cool character for MultiVersus. Critters is a movie that I have covered in a past video. They have a ton of movies, and when I say a ton, it's like 6 or something, and they are really interesting characters. I would love to see a critter get into MultiVersus. I think their rolling and their poison spikes are what make them unique. They also would definitely have biting moves, but that is kind of where their potential ends. I think that with those things, the devs could still make a pretty neat moveset. Plus, Critters vs. Gremlins is something that people have been wanting for a long time, and MultiVersus has the opportunity to make that happen. The next character is one that I have made a whole moveset for. He actually does not originate from a horror film, that character being Bingo from the Banana Splits. There was a Banana Splits horror movie that was created a couple years back, and I think that Bingo could have a move or two pulled from it. He could have an axe throwing move like he has on the cover of the movie. I think that the other moves though would probably be pulled from other things. Bingo has been featured in comics, TV shows, and a movie, so he technically is a horror character, but I think his primary moveset would be pulled from his other appearances. I had to include him in this video though, as I really love his character, and I did think that the Banana Splits movie was a fun one. If you have any interest in watching the moveset I created for Bingo, consider going and watching it. It's one of my favorites. We are now down to the final 3, and the next character is also one that I've created a moveset for. That character being Robert Neville from I Am Legend. I really loved I Am Legend, and I'd absolutely love to see Neville included. I think he could use some of his guns, a grenade, his dog, and introduce a very unique Nightfall gimmick. Supposedly there is a second movie coming out, so maybe we could get Neville in the future of the game. I do really hope that he is included on the end roster because I think the movie he comes from is a fantastic one. The next character is actually from a Japanese film. The character originates from a manga, and I think that he could be a really interesting character with a very unique design. The movie is called Museum, and its main character is a killer that goes around wearing a frog mask. I think it's such a wacky looking villain, and it would be very unique to include. I actually don't know much about the character. I haven't been able to find the movie with English subtitles, and I don't think I'd be able to sit through the whole movie without knowing what is being said at all. I think that the frog guy uses a gun and has a decent amount of kills in the movie, so I do think that he has potential. I wish that there was more that I could say about him because I really do like his design. I found out about the movie while scrolling through movies made by Warner, and I would like to see him added into MultiVersus. Plus, it would diversify the roster a little bit. We don't really have a Japanese-only character at the moment, and it could bring some life to the game. The last character is one that I am just going to throw out there. I think that the baby from It's Alive should be included in MultiVersus because it would be hilarious. We got Banana Guard, so give us the baby who has 3 movies made from him as our next joke character. I think it would be hilarious, and the babies even grow up, so they have a lot of possibilities. With that, I think I will end the video here, except there is one more thing that I want to talk about. Thank you all so much for 500 subscribers. It's a milestone that I never thought I'd reach, and I think it's insane. 1,000 subscribers seems possible now. Maybe even by the end of the year, which is so cool to me. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. It would encourage me to make future uploads and would mean a lot to me. Next week, I will be talking about my personal MultiVersus character wishlist. I've been revealing all of the characters over on Twitter, so if you are curious, you can check it out there. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next week.